Well, Gail, it's wonderful to see you again. I'm so honored to have you in the playbook. And thank you for being with us today.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. Would you please tell us something about your childhood? Who were the early influences? What were your interests?
Well, I come from a family of 6 girls and 4 boys, raised on the Musqueam Reservation. My mother was the first non-native. She was actually, my mother's Norwegian Scottish, married into the reserve. And when I was growing up, a normal life like anybody else, but we didn't know that, we're in a community that was a reservation. We didn't know the difference at the time. But it was a tough life. When we were raised, we had no running water in the home. We had no facilities like for a bathroom, and we just had a sawdust stove. But our mother and father made that we didn't know we were poor, and so we had a happy life as far as not knowing that what we didn't have didn't make a difference to us, because we struggled, but we didn't know that it was tough times. But I think those times made us tough today to survive and have a better way of life. Our playground was the reservation. We went to school. We interacted in our own community. The Fraser River was my swimming pool.
Wow.
And my diving board was the logs on the river. In the winter, where the Chinese farms were adjacent to us, was our skating rink. They would freeze over in the winter time, and the parks here were our playgrounds in the winter time for sleigh riding and tobogganing. But we stayed to ourselves a lot. We didn't integrate, and I never knew I was half Indian. I knew that I was just a First Nations, and I was the first blonde baby born on the reservation.
Wow.
Yeah, so the old timers would come and look at me and touch my head and say, "Is that real hair?" Because they never see such a white baby. So yeah, but I could say all in all, we were like any normal family, except for we were labeled as First Nations. We lived on a reservation. We were, basically struggling, lower class family because of the hard times and the way that life was in those days. I think all the generation of the baby boomers grew up in a situation where it was tough times, but that made you tough.
Yes. What impact, if any, did your cross-cultural background have on you becoming a chief?
When I was growing up, I spent a lot of time in our cultural ways with our old timers. I like to serve the people, so I was always playing with the old timers who taught me a lot of things about leadership, who taught me about serving people and helping people. And so because of the influence of my father being a chief, he was the first band manager in Canada. My grandfather's a chief. And then when my time came, the teachings and the examples I had of leadership in my family helped me to rise up and take a position where I could serve in the same manner, as my father and my grandfather, because I looked up to them, and they paved the way, to open the door for me.
Yes. The masculine visions are captured in the symbol for "We are of one heart and mind." Could you please tell us a bit about the statement?
Well, in First Nations communities, a lot of times when we're growing up, we're very divided because of the integration, of the government and their standards that they impose on us. And then when there's a lot of changes are happening, we're kind of like, we're no different. There's a lot of jealousies, a lot of indifferences, a lot of mixed, feelings and a lot of grudges and a lot of negativity. So they realized that in order to become stronger as a community, that we must adopt one heart, one mind, one spirit. It's not that we all are one heart, one mind, one spirit, but if we can try individually to be that way, then we can actually help our community to grow and prosper and change, as what we should be traditionally, because we were at one time a community that was strong, united, and close, and but then through time it changed. So now we're trying to reinstitute that in our community, of that spirit, as we live together. We have to grow together and adopt so we can, be stronger and better, society-wise, because we do have a lot of fragmentation of social ills that we've got there. So, and those aren't part of Native traditional ways. That's Western.
Yes.
So.
As a former chief, you've been running for again to appointed to be a chief. What do you think is the most important characteristic of a chief?
A chief must have, first of all, must work from their heart, and then, when you work with your heart and you connect to your mind, then the spirit can reach out to the people. You know, because our people have been betrayed many times by false promises and false hopes. But if a chief works from their heart to serve the people, has integrity, has honesty, has trust, and also has the characters that they love and they really do care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's a quality that, because that's where women work from our matriarch society. We work from our heart, which is the center of your whole being. And so that's a quality that I would carry, because that's where I was taught by my father and my grandfather, that they all stood for the people and by the people and served the people that way.
Wonderful. Are women a better runner for the organization or country?
Well, in our society, interesting enough, because we come from a matriarch society, my grandfather told us many different type of stories about the fact is it was when we lived in longhouses prior to contact, the women were the ones that gave the direction to the men, you know, because we lived in longhouses. There were like 10 families in a house, and they would direct them what to do, to go and get the food, to do the hunting, and do the providing for the families. And then when it came back to the longhouse, women were in charge, because women gave life. Life comes from women, the womb of the woman. So the men, you know, looked up to that. And so women work from their heart, from their core, and they give life. So they have a way of being able to show a better way of life, you know, because of the strength that we have. And to this day, I still connect to that belief, and hopefully that'll carry me into the next election and be successful. To reconnect back to our traditional ways of women in leadership.
What are the approaches you would like to choose to inspire or motivate Musqueam youth?
Well, I think that we need to do is you always have to go to your past, you know, to learn, you know, in the present, right where we are right now. And our people have become so adapted to a way of life where the Western influence with the infiltration of alcohol and drugs. And to reconnect with your standards, you know, traditionally and culturally, that who we were as a people made us distinct. You know, alcohol was not used, you know, pre-contact by us. Drugs was not an issue. The standards of the success of our self-government was that we worked and provided, and there was a strength in our community that we survived, you know, because of the innate ability of saying First Nations were strong, they were talented, they were gifted, you know, they survived, they provided in this country the strength of it was like the history's written in the earth, my sister says, is that in providing from the earth, their way of life. And now today, the way of life is not the way that I grew up. I see the big changes, and until we can understand the fact that we did wrong by adapting those ways and we lost our identity. We need to identify who you are and the strength of our traditional ways that we survived, you know, prior to contact, and the changes that we made today are not the right changes.
What is the most pressing issue now in the Musqueam band?
The most pressing issue with us right now is to reestablish our community, our traditional cultural strengths and skills and lifestyles that we had, which did not, how would you say this, that we never had before a problem socially. You know, we were socially, did not have the ills that we have today, and that's the chronic condition we have of alcohol and drugs, which leads to unemployment, leads to, you know, to the dependence of the welfare, which we never had welfare up to 1965. Prior to that, we worked for ourselves, provided for ourselves. And we need to do that's when we have to own that problem, and the solution is to start living our life away from that dependency and to be independent. You know, as a First Nations, self-government is governing yourself. And then when we can learn to govern ourselves, then we don't have to we can say no to alcohol, no to drugs, no to a dependent life on the welfare system, and be independent. And there's a lot of opportunities for the economic strength that we have in our community to tap into the economic strengths that we have to educate and to employ and to work and do our own businesses. So we continue to have our own people working in our government, work in our society.
Do you have any fond memories of Kyrgyzstan community or community using the community center? Do you have?
Kyrgyzstan community was my playground. That's where I learned to swim in the Fraser River. And then when we found that there was lots of contamination in the river, we advanced up and went to Kerrisdale. We walked from the reserve to Kerrisdale, and we were water rats. We lived in the pool.
Wow.
Yeah, and when the pool would close, we'd wait outside until it opened again. We'd go morning till evening, and then we would walk over to Woolworths that was on 41st, which is now, what is that store that's there? It's Hills of Kerrisdale.
Yes.
Yeah, Hills of Kerrisdale was Woolworths, and we'd go have our lunch and our fries there, and that was our whole world in the summertime. We lived in Kerrisdale, and everybody seen us and knew us because we were all brown beans, you know, except for me, I was brown, but you know, I had blonde hair.
Yes.
But no, Kerrisdale had very fond memories. Went to high school in Point Grey. It was in Kerrisdale, yes. Yeah, First Nations. But the problem was in our time, education was not ingrained in us to succeed in education because of the problems with First Nations and non-natives in the school system. There's a lot of racial problems, so a lot of our people dropped out of school and only went to grade 8 or 10, but I did go to grade 12. I was driven to succeed and to be educated, so.
Yes.
But no, we have many fond memories of Kerrisdale. We still patronize Kerrisdale today, you know, the banks, the stores, and the kids come to the community center.
I'm personally envisioning that our center will become a learning community or creativity lab where meaningful dialogue can take place and leading to sometimes significant change. However, we do need new innovation to encourage such a collaborative, creative climate. What is your vision on it? How would you like to foster a good working relationship with a Kerrisdale Community Center, for example?
Well, I really believe that Kerrisdale needs to open up the door, understand that Kerrisdale was Musqueam.
Yes.
And we have rich cultural heritage that we can share with Kerrisdale. Because, you know, Kerrisdale, prior to the name Kerrisdale, was Musqueam.
Yes.
And it would be nice to have Kerrisdale open the doors to our arts, our crafts,
I would love that.
you know, our language, our history that they could teach. And so they know really who they are,
Yes.
you know, and who built this. My grandfather was the one that worked with the settlers here in Vancouver and opened up the roads. The roads were logged by First Nations and the Asian community. And we did a lot to build this area of Kerrisdale, was First Nations. If it wasn't for us, you know, actually living and existing here, there wouldn't be a Kerrisdale. And I think the community center could open it up and integrate also and invite our community in to participate in the programs and activities like you've gone to our Aboriginal Day. Kerrisdale has got carnival days that they have. They could also have more a theme around First Nations because we're so close.
What do you like to do for fun? What would you like to do to relax?
Well, I really don't like relax because I've never been married, but you know, my nickname my grandfather gave me was Chief Looking for a Husband. And so it never worked. So now today I have 25 nieces and nephews, first generation, 35 second generation. They're my life.
Yes.
And so my door is open, my heart is open, and the kids are my way of enjoying life.
This title is still valid.
Well, I use it, you know, it doesn't harm anything, but it's a way that my grandfather always taught me. When you meet people, the most number one quality that you could have is to make them laugh.
Yes.
Laughter is healthy. Laughter opens up doors. Laughter shows really who you are. And so that was the way that he said to me, you know, I feel sorry for you, you're not married. And I said, yes. And he said, so I'm going to give you a name that's going to help you. And I said, what is the name? He said, Chief Looking for a Husband. And he was almost 100. So in his good sense, I used that title, but it never helped. But no, my form of relaxing is serving and being with my family. And with my family, we're always, you know, having time for bike rides. We go to movies. You know, they come to my home for entertainment. You know, the food and you know, the dog that I have there at the home. That we're cohesive that way. We just our time together is fun,
Yes.
you know, and that's the most important quality to have is when you have youth, they want to they make you youthful also.
That's right.
That's my key to staying young is always to keep kids, and the kid in you stays there, and I can just be with them, and that's fun for me. So I don't need to go and do anything, you know, expensive or elaborate, just to have the kids with me.
Yes.
And if we're walking, talking, telling stories, playing games, that's my way of enjoying life.
What do you plan to have accomplished in 3 years, personally and professionally?
Well, personally, I would really like to improve on my health with having a severe osteoarthritis condition, change my lifestyle, you know, to be healthier, to be more active, to run for office again, you know, to be chief or counselor, and also to be an example to the community and my family by reinstituting my profession to go back into working in recreation and community development and programs that can help with our social ills.
Yes.
You know, so and educating myself again, to go back to school and to learn about photography, which is one of my goals. You know, so to keep living, you know, to keep growing, and to be alive. You know, so that's what my goal is, to not stop living at 60, but start living again. You know, that doesn't stop there; it starts again. You know, I really think what you just asked me to do is a step outside of our comfort zone in our communities.
Yes.
Is that understand that we are a community that has been maybe quietly like a sleeping giant, sitting there as a reservation makes you reserved, and in order for us to make the change, you know, in our to stay distinctly who you are, but also to make the move to integrate with our members in outside of Musqueam.
Yes.
This is part of it.
Yes.
Yes, this is the change that we must step up and start doing,
Yes.
like we done 20 years ago. But somehow or other we've slipped back.
Yeah.
Now we have to come back up again.
Yeah.
You know.
Like it
so-
goes vice versa for us too.
Yes, yes, it has to go both ways. You know, being First Nations is not something that's a bad thing.
No.
You know, people label you, but no, being First Nations, we're first, we're of this nation, and we're really the forefathers that built this country, and built Kerrisdale, built Dunbar, built Vancouver. We were here first.
Yes.
So, but it's our problem also because we allow ourselves to be staying separated in one little community, which we shouldn't be. You know, so, and it was our forefathers and ancestors that welcomed the new world. And that's what we're really doing again, history repeating itself.
Yes.
It's time to open up and welcome and bring in, you know, new people, new way of life, and to integrate it that way. So,
Yeah. Thank you.